Hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Olivia. Something that I want to talk about today that um, I probably have talked about before, but I feel like all my topics and the things that I want to talk about weave in and out with each other. So the thing that I want to talk about today, I'm sure I've talked about before, but I don't care. I'm gonna further discuss it because it's important. Something that I think I've even had to realize I've had to check myself on is I have had to save myself from myself. And you may be like, what do you mean by that? I've had to save myself from this savior complex that I have, that I continue to still work on, in a sense, rescuing the rescuer. Having a savior complex, thinking that going out of my way to help other people, even people who do not want or who do not need the help. Me taking the responsibility of their decisions and whatever problems they're going through for themselves, taking it on like it's my responsibility. And I thought the act was being kind, or me being a good friend, a good person, an act of selflessness, of putting other people ahead of myself. Yeah, probably people pleasing. There is no probably, was people pleasing, trying to please other people. But I've noticed that what I thought was selflessness, me extending myself for other people, quickly turned into, looking back on it, it was really a lack of boundaries. It was a lack of, it was me taking responsibility for things that weren't my responsibility. It was a lot of neglect on both ends. And it was there's no growth when you don't allow someone to grow from what they're going through. I was taking on their responsibility of growing for them. And I just noticed that I wouldn't be surprised if it comes from childhood, being at a young age, having what is the word I'm thinking of? Feeling the need that I have to take care of other people from such a young age. They call it being the quote unquote parent. And I just noticed that it was just a lot of me overstepping a lot of boundaries, not even boundaries for that person, boundaries even for myself. Because let's be real, actually, there was no overstepping boundaries on my part because I didn't have any boundaries. But I just continued to give a lot of help and unsolicited advice to people, overextending myself, overextending my resources, my time, my energy, my emotional, mental state, taking on responsibilities that aren't even mine in the first place, ignoring my well being, my mental, my emotional state, sacrificing myself, everything to help other people, and leaving nothing for myself. Also, I wouldn't be surprised, in today's world and society, when you sacrifice yourself to the point where you're bending over backwards and you have nothing left for yourself, that's almost praise in the world. People pleasing is praise in the world. Overextending yourself, praised in the world. This unhealthy level of selflessness is praised in the world. And it easily can blur the lines to the fact of you don't know whether you're helping other people or whether that you are, having a healthy view of generosity and selflessness, or are you just betraying yourself or taking on a responsibility that isn't even yours. The savior complex. You're saving people from the consequences or even their own decisions, both good and bad, and it's not your responsibility to do so. And whether or not, you can have the best intentions in the world, your actions and the things that you want to do to help people isn't always helpful, especially when someone doesn't necessarily want the help. You try to help someone when, from whatever problem that they're going through, you know, helping someone from a situation that they're going to have to learn on their own does not allow that person to take responsibility for their own actions, to even develop the ability to take care of themselves, because you're doing the work for them. And because of that, any kind of change that you think that this helping someone, the savior complex, taking on their responsibilities, that change is going to be very temporary. That change is not long lasting whatsoever. And you can almost, I was at that point I was motivating people, but for some people, it feels like attack. Some people do not, they say they want the help, but they really don't want the help. Sometimes someone just wants someone to listen to them about their problems. They actually don't really want a solution to them. And, people may want solutions, but and yet they're so drawn to their problems because I don't know, maybe they get, honestly, I don't know, maybe I need to think about it more. But you can see so much potential in someone and who this person is, and then you want to save them from whatever it is that they're going through because you can see them at a level they don't even see. But and yet, because of that, it becomes detrimental to the relationship that you have with this person, and you start believing in them more than they even believe in themselves. And if they're not ready for that, it is not going to be beneficial on both ends whatsoever. So it just made me realize that, the level of belief that I have in myself, um, the level of belief that I have in myself has to be greater than some of the beliefs that I have in other people. The person that I was for other people, saving people or helping people from their problems, why can't I be that person for myself? I'm trying so hard to be that person for everybody else. Well, you know what? Maybe I need to be that person for myself first. Take care of me first. And, I was that kind of friend who that got upset when people weren't living up to their potential or people kept on, complaining about their problems but wasn't doing anything to solve them. Or, in a sense, even liked residing in the problems or being around the problems and not doing anything to solve them. And it just felt like, I was that kind of person. I knew that you wanted your life to be this one way. So I was trying to prevent you from settling from the life that you have right now. But I had to realize that, like I said, I have to be that person. What the person I was trying to be for other people, I need to be that person for myself first and foremost. And you can feel so deeply trying to fix things for people, trying to explain things, trying to keep everybody together, trying to make people understand, trying to just save people from all their problems in the world. And then you realize, eventually you come to a point and you realize and you sit back and think about all the saving that you've been doing for people. Savior complex, trying to save people from their own responsibilities, their problems, issues, situations. You realize, and I realize this, a lot of people benefited from me not having the boundaries in my life. Just always being at hand and foot for whatever situation they were going through and never let them actually process or take responsibility for what was going on in their life. And was happy or even taking advantage of the fact that I did not have boundaries in the relationship and was saving people from themselves. And then I realized, I just can't do this anymore. It's not beneficial to me and it's not beneficial to anybody else on in the relationship as well. You know, um, you always see the good in other people, at least me personally. Always seeing the good in people and trying to make someone see it as well. But like I said, you can't do that when they're not ready to see it themselves. No matter what you do, you try to make them see the good in themselves, you might actually be pushing them away from whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish or their potential because you're too involved in something that they're not ready to take responsibility for themselves. And um even I wouldn't be surprised even back then it was a little bit of a projection on my part. The things that I saw in myself, I saw in other people where I used to be in my past and where I wanted them to be, or looking at their potential and realizing that they can be so much more than the person they are right now, because that's the process I went through within myself. But like I said, some people aren't ready for that stage yet, and you cannot force someone to be ready for that stage when they themselves aren't ready for that stage. And trying to change people by making them into something that they're not ready for, they do not want to be. Some people, you see so much potential in them, but there's no change, there's no development. No matter what you try to do and what you try to save them from, there's absolutely no growth, no evolving. And we like to think that, because we see the good in people, we believe that we can save people from their situations and their issues and their struggles. Who knows, whatever it is that people are going through, the darkness in people's lives. So we stick around, we try to be that hero, we try to be that savior to help them with everything that they're going through in life. And sometimes you wind up being the person that needs saving. You invest in so much time in whatever relationship this is that you wearing yourself out. You the one that needs saving. The rescuer needs saving, rescuing the rescuer. And you wind up being the person who's being mistreated. You wind up being the person that's getting taken advantage of, or that the boundaries are being crossed because you have no boundaries. Let's be real. So you have to eventually let go, especially when someone is not ready to change and not ready to make that, I don't know, development. And because holding on is not beneficial to you emotionally, mentally, physically, it's not your responsibility to do life for people. They got to do life for themselves. You're supposed to carry your own responsibilities, your own weight in whatever relationship it is, romantic or platonic. And hopefully you inspire through it. You just inspire people to make that change. I don't know. But you just can't do all the work for someone else who ain't ready to do it. So I had to realize, what are some things that I can do that can help me to work on my savior complex? Okay, what am I going to have to do? Good grief. You're going to have to set some boundaries, Olivia. You're going to have to balance the fact that you got to stop. You got to realize that you can help and care for someone, but you don't want to save them from their situations, whatever it is that they're going through. You can't save them. They have to work on it. They have to save themselves or whatever it is that they're going through. You're going to have to start saying no. You have to start saying no. You have to stop. Um, First opportunity or first time someone says something they need help from, maybe you need to step back, take a little bit, maybe see if they can fix it on their own. Slow down so that you can think about your decisions before you make them. Good grief. So I think everybody needs this. Get a therapist. I don't care how perfect your life was. I don't care what happened to you in life. Good, bad, ugly. I don't care. You could have the best life in the world. You still need a therapist. Get a therapist. Talk about this. Talk to a therapist about this. Let whoever it is that you love, your loved one, person, relationship, whatever it is, wise, take responsibility for their own actions and stop doing more work for that person than that person is even doing for themselves. Do the best to support this person or whoever it is that you're trying to save, and just let them take responsibility and let go so that they can make decisions for themselves. You, like I said, you're going to have to redefine this helping and caring, and with boundaries. Have boundaries even though you want to help, even though you want to care for other people and you want to be empathetic. You got to take care of yourself too. That's self-care. Be the person that you are trying to be for other people. Why not, you trying to be this person, save other people from their situations and the things that they're going through, trying to be the best version that you can, this best version of yourself you can possibly be for this person, help them, and you see all this potential. Why can't you be that person for yourself? Make that a priority. Like I said, take care of yourself. Do something nice for yourself. You're trying to save everybody else. Maybe you need to save yourself. Work on yourself. And this too, you are not required to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That is not a requirement whatsoever. You're not meant to overextend and wind up killing yourself for someone else to keep them warm, or maybe even keep them in a situation they don't want to take responsibility of. You doing the work for them. Stop it. Like I said, learn that no is a complete answer, complete sentence. Some people benefited from you when you had a savior complex because you took on the responsibilities for them. Learn to say no. Give them a reality check. You're not doing that no more. And you know what? They're not going to be happy. So what? So be it. They're going to have to be okay with that. And recognize the fact of, like I said, the difference between helping and caring for someone and wanting to take on the responsibilities for everything this person is doing because you got a savior complex and you want to save them from the things that they're going through. That's not your responsibility whatsoever. So it's just some rewiring that you got to do mentally about what's your motive and why are you doing what you're doing. Is it to benefit? Is it to help? Or is it just because you want to a sense of control, because you want to take responsibility and you feel like it's your duty to do this for someone else? Like I said, a lot of stuff that stems from childhood. Maybe this is something that you've always done since you were a kid. I don't know. But just be aware. Simple as that. Just be aware and ask questions about yourself or about the situations and relationships that you're in. But that's just something that I wanted to talk about today. I hope everyone has a fantastic day today. And I'll see you guys next time.